Ajahn Kadria, and you follow me on Twitter.
Strategy is to actually bring in about change. But before we sort of get into now, you talk about issues that are as weighty as things discussed in books.
Well, Mona has given so we can use the word fuck, you know. She's given us the license. So we're so fundamental in a way to be angry if you don't remember that. So there is the war against intellection in this country, is built on the foundation of another war, the war against. This is a space of unmemory, a space of dismemory, and we've got to do something about that. So I throw laughter into it to make you think, remember, and get angry. You shouldn't be doing shalang in the
of issues that we look at.
Religion and all kinds of identity are deployed to make sure that every attempt to have a transcendental social revolution coming from a critical core or a critical mass, so we can have a consensus that theft is theft because our identities, we have made them too complex. So we need to think through these things. Why? How do we begin to, do we need to change the DNA? Do we need to open up people's brains, and perform so long as it is not performed by Ben Carson?
Okay, yeah. One final question for both of you before I open it up to the floor. The criticism I've heard is that obviously both of you carry two passports, American and Egyptian, Nigerian and Canadian. You are not primarily resident in the countries that you write about. And so, Mona, in your case, there's, of course, the criticism, Western ideology, you're bringing in foreign ideas, and this is just an attack against Islam and culture. In your own case, Pius, armchair critic, sitting in academia, not coming and getting your hands dirty and grappling with the real issues, but ever ready to criticize. Could you both respond, please, and then we open it up, yeah?
All right. I think whatever you do, people are going to find something to criticize you. So I think if it's not my second passport, it will be my red hair, it will be my tattoos, it will be whatever. And, I don't care, because the work that I do speaks for itself. But let's talk about these two passports and where I live. I think I'm 48 years old now. I've lived in 5 countries. So I was born in Egypt, and then my family moved when I was a child, when I was 7. My parents got a scholarship to study for a PhD in medicine in the UK, so we moved to the UK. And then my parents got jobs in Saudi Arabia, so we moved to Saudi Arabia. And then I moved back to Egypt to study journalism. I lived in Jerusalem for a while. I was a Reuters correspondent in Cairo and Jerusalem. And then I went to the US. So I've lived in all those countries, and I think that is not a unique experience. It's obviously a very privileged experience, and I do recognize the privilege of having lived in those different places, because not everybody has a chance to travel, and not everybody has a chance to live in places with papers, because we know, the awful trouble and the terrible demonization of undocumented people everywhere. So I recognize this as a privilege. But I also recognize that all of those countries that I've lived in have made me the woman that I am, and I'm incredibly lucky, and I love this perspective that I have, and the be at home, nowhere and everywhere. That speaks to a certain experience that many of us are becoming accustomed to. So I do relish that, and I recognize it as a privilege. But I'm also Egyptian, and in a way that no one can take away from me. There isn't one way to be Egyptian. I think it's really false to make people try to hold people up to some kind of test of authenticity. Who determines who's an Egyptian? Who determines who's a Nigerian? Where is this guidebook that says that you are 100% this or 100% that? I determine what I am. I determine my own identities, and I make my own way as that Egyptian, and also as that American. And as I said, depending on where I live, the complications and the confusions change. So obviously, Mona walking through the streets of New York and Mona walking through the streets of Cairo have similar but very different fights as well. Now, in 2013, I had been living in the United States for 11 years, and I decided to move back to Cairo So it was the many, many returns to Cairo. This was the most recent of my returns. And I moved back to Cairo because I wanted to write my book in Cairo. I wanted to write a book, the subtitle of which is Why the Middle East Needs a Sexual Revolution. And I'm saying this and writing this in Egypt because part of my determination to complicate the image of a woman from Egypt and a woman of Muslim descent is to talk about sex, and talk about sex openly and with pride and with no shame. Because I come from a country in which 91% of women between the age of 15 to 49 have had their genitals cut for the sake of controlling women's sexuality. You have FGM in Nigeria, right? Most countries, unfortunately, on our continent have FGM. Why? To control women's sexuality. So I can talk about FGM in New York. I can do whatever the fuck I want in New York. But going back to Egypt to talk about sex and to live as a woman determined to be sexually liberated in Cairo, that was my revolution. So I moved back to Egypt to write this book in Egypt and to work on feminism on the ground in Egypt. And to say, in Egypt, I control my body. I do with my body what I want. I'm a big advocate of LGBT rights. I say this in Egypt. I'm a big advocate of anything that disrupts heteronormativity, and I moved back to Egypt to say this and to live this. So anybody who wants to sit there on social media and criticize, I believe in freedom of expression, but here's the thing. I'm the one writing this. I'm the one whose body is on the front line. I'm the one whose arms were broken and who was sexually assaulted by the same forces I'm fighting. And in Egypt, Pius, it's not just the soldiers who sexually violate us. It's also men on the street. The rates of sexual assault in Egypt are horrific. It's the state, the street, and the home.
Okay, yeah. I think Mona largely, in a way, speaks for me because I've grown completely immune, to such attempts to delegitimize your voice because you carry a second passport or because you don't live here. And so I really don't care about those people. And I'll give you just two quick anecdotes. Sometimes the way I've responded in some, just very, very quickly. Last time I was, I said, look, I think I care, apart from the fact that I don't even owe anybody any explanation, in terms of my essential Nigerianness and all that. I think I care much more, and I'm much more Nigerian than most Nigerians who throw that kind of accusation at me. I care more because part of the problem that this country has is that too many Nigerians who live here, actually, I'm not ashamed to say this, they disrespect this country and they don't love her enough. They don't care about her enough. They disrespect it fundamentally. That passport you're talking about, I was coming in, and you go figure. I was coming in one day, in one of my trips back home. I always come on my Nigerian passport. I hate the idea of entering, with a visa. At immigration here in Lagos, the guy, the immigration officer, he has my passport, Nigerian passport. He's flipping through the pages and doing the usual chit chat. And I tried to bend over to talk to him, and my Canadian passport falls out. And he sees it. Oga, you get this one? So what are you doing with this? And he just literally flung the Nigerian, he flung it away. So what are you doing with this one? Instinct. So you have what are you doing with this piece of shit? That was the way he treated the Nigerian passport. And he was wearing the uniform of the federal government. Now, I changed. I became human. He picked up the Canadian. Oh my God, you get this one. Some of you, wait, when I know they recognize everything when I get to. He just said, I said, Oga, visa no did this one. Stamp my Nigerian passport, make her they go. So that sums up a certain attitude. And then that same guy will jump on social media and then try to delegitimize me. To hell with those guys. I don't care about them, honestly.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. So, questions, comments. We want to get as many people in as possible. So please, can you try and be quite short? I don't know where the mics are. Right, okay, so there's two people at the back. We'll take maybe 3 at a time, and then they will respond, and then we'll go back to the floor.
Thank you very much. My question is to Mona.
I'm trying to tell us who you are, because it provides context. Yeah?
My name is
Please.
Adiba Hafiz Batunde. I write on international relations and United Nations generally.
Okay.
So my question is to Mona. So you said on your impact to revolution in Egypt. So 2 years after, we see a political dictator coming as an inquisitor to usurp the Egyptian presidency like a throne. After it has been dehumanized for the past, let me say, 40 years. So from the regime of Abdel Fattah Nasser to Hosni Mubarak. So we can see the history of violence in Egypt. So when we see the case of people like Zainab al-Ghazali, so if you're an Egyptian, you should know Zainab al-Ghazali.
I do.
So when we see cases of her and our maltreatment from the Egyptian government, we see people of different, or let me say, harsh origin. My question goes thus, that how does your impact as a sexual revolutionist, as I just said, how does it affect the people of Egypt? And looking at the turn of political dictator at Egypt, what are you doing about it?
Wait.
Yeah, could we take 2 more, please?
Okay, sure.
And I think the question is, revolution has failed, and given that you were part of that initial revolution,
Yes.
and there are still atrocities, we're now back to a dictator, one dictator replaced by the other.
Yes.
What impact do you think your work
Why
will
did he
have?
bring up Zainab Ghazali?
Well, I think you know whether you were. Anyway, let's take a few more questions, then you can respond. Yeah.
Okay.
Then you can respond, because I want to, yeah. Go on. Somebody give him a mic.
I have the mic.
Where is the microphone?
I have it.
Okay, can you
Can
stand
I
up?
use it?
Yes.
Can
but-
I use it?
we need to see you, right?
Yes,
okay.
yes. Oyeronke Oyewumi, I'm a sociologist, and it's good to see the pious professor right there. I have a question for you, and I have comment for my fellow president. She had made me a president. Yes, pious. Reading African narratives, whether it's academic or what have you, it seems to me that one of the things that we must do, and as armchair, I believe in theorizing. I think it's
Talk about the shit that happens over here. Fight it everywhere around the world. And when it comes to being a Muslim woman, it's especially fucking exhausted. It's like walking into a minefield, because I've got to fight the racists, the misogynists, the Islamophobes, the xenophobes, and then I'm asked, well, what kind of Muslim are you anyway? Which is essentially your question. Am I a Muslim on Thursday but not a Muslim on Sunday? All you need to know is I identify as a Muslim. That is it. There is no litmus test. I'll tell you how. I'm not going to tell you if and when I pray. I'm not going to tell you if and how I fast. You don't deserve to know any of this. All you need to know is that I identify as a Muslim. But I will tell you this story, because I love telling this story, because it fucks with people's minds. In 2005, the African-American scholar of Islam, Amina Wadud, was the imam in the first public mixed gender Friday prayer. A woman led men and women. The azan was given by a woman. The khutbah, the sermon, was given by Amina Wadud. She stood and gave the sermon, and we prayed behind her, 50 men and 50 women. I prayed next to a man. I was one of 2 women praying without a headscarf, and I prayed on my period. And that is a triple whammy behind a woman imam. That woman imam is a pioneer in the field of Islamic feminism, and she is reinterpreting the religion as an imam because she deserves to be an imam. When it comes to me, all you need to know is I identify as a Muslim. That is it.
Thank you. Thank you very, very, very much. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Another round of applause, please, for the 2 panelists. Thank you. I'm afraid we have to leave it here, but you know, the discussions carry on, more book chats, and these 2 are around, so grab them, talk to them, and have discussions.
Hello. Like I said earlier, we've got some copies of their books. But before that, I just want to say that someone has lost a phone. If you've lost a phone, come and see me and be prepared to tell me why those photos are on your phone. Explain. Why is that woman wearing a bikini top and not a bikini? Anyway. So I've got those. Just to remind you, the next book chat is happening here after lunch at 2 o'clock. You're going to have Emma Shercliffe here speaking to Abu Ibrahim and Dear Koye right here, 2 o'clock. Thank you. A round of applause for Kadria Ahmed, please.
My name is Wana Odabang and I am live at Ake Festival 2015 in Abeokuta. So I'm going to be moderating a poetry panel and I'm also going to be performing at Palm Wine and Poetry. Now just to let you guys know, Ake is like, you know, the most anticipated cultural event of the year. Everybody is here. You get all the biggest authors from around Africa and even around the world right here in Abeokuta. So as we like to say, it's the rock star.
Hi, my name is Bisi Alimi. I am a lecturer and I'm in Ake. I'm having fun. I'm surrounded by books and people that write books. So if you're missing out here, you're really missing.
Hello, my name is Itilokwe Shonuga. I am a poet and I'm at Ake Festival. If you're not here, I really don't know what to tell you. You are missing out on a whole lot. It is an amazing festival of arts and just amazing.
Hi, my name's Kate Haynes. I'm here at the festival chairing a panel about blogging Africa's books. I'm a PhD student at the University of Sussex. I'm also associate editor for Kwani Trust and the editor of Africa in Words.
Hello, my name is Kudus Oni.